WHPC Garden City, New York, the voice of Nassau Community College.
Listen.
Join WHPC's Daily News Wrap-Up, weekdays at 4:30 p.m., bringing you a complete report of the day's news home and abroad, as well as sports, weather, and many other informative features.
Gotcha.
We're Long Island's FM alternative.
.3 FM, WHPC. Welcome to From the Pressbox. How you doing? On this Monday. What day is it, Tim? Monday what?
Monday, September 8th.
Monday, September 8th. Oh, that's cool. Okay. But you know something?
Kind of a trick question, really.
Yeah, I know. I do that. You're welcome to the Pressbox. I'm Rob Leonard. My co-host, as always, is...
That would be me, Tim Leonard.
And you know what, Tim? Considering what we're about to talk about, we really shouldn't be playing Hotel California. We really should be playing this.
Exactly. I was just going to say. How long are we letting this go?
That's about it. And the
it's like I say, you know the words.
You know the words. You know the open. And let's our first topic for our show called From the Press Box. By the way, 516-572-7440 if you'd like to talk or bring up a topic or whatever. Yesterday at Yankee Stadium, or should we say New Yankee Stadium? It's really not Yankee Stadium.
Call it what you will.
Whatever we call it. They had a little going-away party for Derek Jeter, even though the season's not over for another 3 weeks. And the way the Yankees are playing, it might be over sooner.
Let's face facts. The season's over.
Because
and I'm a Yankee fan.
You are a Yankee fan.
I am a big Yankee fan. I make no bones about that. The season is over. The Yankees still can't get to the point where they're over 10 games over 500. And I said this last week. Until they can get to that point, I can't take them seriously as a potential playoff team. And all they keep doing is playing a couple good games, then a loss, then a couple of wins, then a couple of losses. And that's not the way you make the playoffs. I mean, they got shut out twice last week, and that includes yesterday. I'm throwing that in there. That is not the way a team makes the playoffs. You have a pitching staff that, for the most part, is doing the job, even though 4 starters had significant injuries, and 3 of them are out for the season. Now we don't even know if Tanaka's actually going to make it back. This is a team that spent hundreds of millions of dollars on offense in the offseason, and the offense, for lack of a better word, is impotent. There's nothing there. And basically, as a Yankee fan, over the course of the last couple of months, it's become patently clear that if the opposing team scores 4 runs or more, then chances are the Yankees are going to lose that game. And I've been a Yankee fan for pretty much most of my life, since the early 70s. And I
remember the exact moment.
I don't remember a
Catfish Hunter getting signed New Year's Eve 1974.
Like I said, the early 70s.
Where Tim Leonard says, we're watching the Sugar Bowl on ABC, and Tim Leonard goes, I am now a Yankee fan.
Thank you very much. And have I wavered in that loyalty and,
no, you haven't.
Devotion since then? No, I have not, exactly. So I was a pretty smart kid. So, but anyway, I don't remember in the approximately 40 years or so that I've been a Yankee fan, I don't remember an offense being this punchless and this hopeless, where it's so unusual for the Yankees to come back, and it's even more unusual for them to reach 5 runs or more. And they have so many guys on the roster who are making an extreme amount of money, and there's just no punch there. These are not the Bronx Bombers. Call them what you will. It's more like the Bronx Bunglers or whatever. But there's no punch.
There is a lackadaisical feel to this team.
I don't know if it's lackadaisical. It's just ineptitude. I mean, you're paying Mark Teixeira approximately $25 million a year. He's got 21 home runs. He's not playing up to his salary, and that is the danger of the free agent game. And we learned this with Steinbrenner when he was going crazy back in the 80s and signing guys like Ken Griffey and Dave Collins and giving them tons of money and expecting them to play better than they were or to become players they weren't. Like Dave Collins, all of a sudden, he was a speed guy. He was kind of a Brett Gardner type in a lot of ways. And Steinbrenner gave him a ton of money, and they batted him third, and then Steinbrenner started complaining, why isn't he hitting home runs? Well, he never hit home runs. So just because you plug a guy into the number 3 spot in the lineup, it's like what they're doing with Ellsbury now. He's a leadoff hitter, and he's been playing exceptionally well since they plugged him back into the leadoff spot. He's been hitting number 3 because the team needed him there, because Beltran's been hurt or has been, hasn't played well, but he's a leadoff hitter. So when you put him in that spot, he'll do well. He'll bat third if you need him to, because that's the kind of player he is. But this is what the Yankees are, and there's no help in the free agent market in the offseason. So anybody who thinks that the Yankee offense is going to get better, the best outfielder, and this is a maybe, who could be out there for in this offseason is Nick Markakis from the Orioles, who at best is pretty good. Although the Orioles are paying him $17 million this season, which, they're getting ripped off. But that's your best option. And as far as I'm concerned, if he's a guy that wants $20 million a year, then fine, let some other dumb team pay him. Because that's just...
Well, what happens next year then? With the Yankees, without Jeter. Jeter's been okay this season. He's 260 around there most of the year, 270. Which isn't bad, but it's Derek Jeter.
It's a punchless 270.
Yeah.
Jeter, his power is almost completely gone. A few days ago, I think it was like 3-4 days ago, he ripped a shot to center field, wound up with a double out of it. But everything you saw yesterday, he came up, he kind of rose to the moment. In like the word Ruthian, that comes from Babe Ruth,
of course,
and a lot of Yankee fans now have come to use the word Jeterian as and Yankee fans will know that it was. My brother's rolling his eyes at me, but Yankee fans realize and understand what that means, and it's kind of a synonym for being clutch and rising to the moment, and Jeter did that yesterday. He got a single in his first at bat, but the single was a bouncer into the shortstop hole, and because Jeter hustles, he's not Robinson Cano, he hustles down to first base, and he beat the throw pretty easily. So, boom, there's your single. And there's your moment where people can say, oh, hey, Jeter got a hit. Big-time moment. He also got a walk. The Yankees as a team only got 4 hits yesterday. So, getting that single was actually an accomplishment. But that's, what Jeter has brought the team this year, I think, in that regard, is replaceable. But... and that's not a criticism, because how many 40-year-old shortstops shouldn't be replaceable? That's where we are in his career. That's what it is. That's reality. Yeah. And I think Jeter would agree with that. If we were talking about 30-year-old Derek Jeter, we'd be talking about somebody who couldn't be replaced.
That's true. And the thing about Jeter, he probably could have stayed around for another year and be a DH if he agreed to it. I don't think he would have, but he could have stayed around as a DH.
I wouldn't want that personally. Because
especially
after what we're seeing this year. And plus, now the DH role has kind of evolved where teams are more likely to use a lot of players in that role. And the Yankees are in that situation where they have a lot of older players, and it's kind of a way to give a guy a day off but still keep his bat in the lineup.
Right.
So, like next year, expect Beltran to DH a lot. And, do you want your DH being a guy who's probably going to hit around 250 and just basically get a lot of singles? And Jeter, unfortunately, hits into a lot of double plays nowadays. Because he hits a lot of ground balls. He's not hitting line drives like he used to, and that I wouldn't want him there as a DH for that.
I'm just saying he could have thought that. I'm glad he didn't.
He's too proud for that.
He went out at the right moment, and I think after what happened with his ankle, his leg, and everything, that whole thing. I think he realized, it was over, and he says, "Let me do one more year."
Yeah, I think that's what it came down to. Is that he wanted. Last year was a disaster for him. There's no other way around it, because he had no physical health, and when you don't have your health, especially as an athlete, your entire life just crumbles. And he wanted to be able to go out and show people that yes, I can still play. I can come back from this. and I can still be an effective player. And has he been an effective player? Yes, he has been. I think he's played a good shortstop this year. He's batted 260 or 270, whatever it is, even though his August was atrocious. But he's showing that while his skills may have diminished to a certain extent, as they will for anybody who turns 40 and still playing, then you're going to see some diminishing ability, and that's where he is. That's where he is as a player. There's nothing to apologize for that. The guy's number 6 all time in the career hits list. That's a guy who's obviously been a great player for a long time. So it happens. It happens to every person who pulls on a uniform. At some point, your skills are going to start to erode. You're going to get older. You're going to get slower. The bat isn't going to be as quick. That's life.
Let's talk about the presentation for Derek Jeter Day yesterday. A lot of people showed up. I didn't know Dave Winfield was going to show up. I didn't realize.
Winfield didn't surprise me because Winfield was Jeter's idol growing up.
I didn't know that.
Well, you're not a Yankee fan.
I'm not a Yankee fan.
I knew that.
I didn't.
I also knew Derek Jeter's middle name was Sanderson, which apparently was news to you 3 weeks ago.
That was, yes, it was.
So, but yeah, no, Winfield didn't surprise me. In fact, I predicted that Ripken would be there because that didn't surprise me either. But this is the kind of respect that Jeter has in the game. I mean, Jeter, as much as people, especially non-Yankee fans, don't want to necessarily acknowledge it, Jeter is an all-time great.
I think all Met fans agree that he's one of the best players ever.
Well, but he also gets that respect. It's not just a matter of being one of the best players ever, but he's also been that kind of representative for baseball where he hasn't brought embarrassment to the game. He's brought nothing but positivity to the game, and he's been a real example of how to play the game and hustle and always give your best in every situation. And I mean, there are countless examples of this on in footage that was shown at the stadium yesterday. And I mean, it's just Derek Jeter is what you want a ball player to be. Do you want him to maybe hit for a little more power? Sure, but if you were crafting a shortstop, I'd be hard pressed to find a way to do it better than him.
And he started very young.
Yes,
so
he
it's
did.
not like he came in at 27 or 28 or 25 or something. He started very young.
20. 1995 he was 20 years old, and that was actually, ironically enough, 1 year after I covered him in Albany when I was working up in Albany back then, and he came through. He only played about, I think it was about 35 or 40 games at the old Albany Colony Yankees up there, and it was a real quick trip. And I mean, I'll tell you what, the one thing I remember about him from those days was that, to be honest, he was kind of a pain in the ass. Because we would have to wait for him after games because he was like the big, here was this big Yankee prospect who was flying through the system, and the writers there for the Albany and Schenectady and Troy papers, we all wanted to talk to this guy because, we didn't know how long he was going to be there, and here was a guy who had glowing reports, and we were all being told, hey, this guy is going to be a star. And after games, he would immediately go out, and they had the Double-A team had a workout room that was located behind the fence in left center field. They had kind of a shed out there. I mean, that's basically what it was. It was a shed. And Jeter would go out there immediately after games and work out. So we'd be sitting there like, all right, yeah, we got stories to write, but we need to talk to this guy.
Well, one thing about Jeter, and I know you've told me this before, always nice to the press, but you didn't get any dangerous quotes from him, per se.
No.
You never got he never put down his teammates really in the press or anything. He was never controversial.
No, he was
one thing,
always very measured with his words. In fact, Jeter was the guy who kind of started that because a lot of guys are like that now. And they're very measured with their words, and they're not going to go out of their way to say something.
But I think those guys you're talking about, who do it because they're afraid. I think Jeter did it because he didn't want to knock anyone.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, Jeter's always been the consummate teammate. He's not going to – if he has something to say to somebody, he's going to say it in the clubhouse when nobody else is around except players. I mean, that's always been the kind of guy he is. If there's an issue in the room, he'll take care of it in the room. He's not going to blow somebody up in the press and then have 20 or 40 or however many reporters go to that guy's locker and say, oh, well, hey, Jeter said this about you. What do you have to say in response? That's never been his style. And that's that's what you want in a captain. If there's an issue in the room, it should be handled by the players in the room, not and this this is coming from somebody who made a living as a sports writer.
Right.
We love it when guys blow each other up in the paper and give us stuff to write because it makes our jobs easier. But at the same time, if I was a player,